Welcome
to the GAME.minder,
Reports,
your weekly
source of upcoming
gaming news and information
for the week of December
4th.
I'm Jim.
And I'm Jeremy.
It wasn't every other word, but it was close enough.
It was close.
I liked it.
I thought it flowed pretty well.
Yeah, like a feel me flow, you know?
Not quite like that.
Word.
Word up.
Okay, so it is December 4th.
December 4th.
20 days before the eve of a mass.
But it's also another very special day today, Jim. Do you know what today is?
National Donut Day.
Today is the last day for GAME.minder, the previous edition.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's not GAME.minder 1.
Well, it's technically was GAME.minder
Yeah,
2.
it technically is GAME.minder. Well, but the server's GAME.minder 1.
Right, but yeah, and then we're at 2.6 for iOS, 1 point something for Android.
Here's the long and the short of it. GAME.minder,
as you know it,
today
is not going to be tomorrow.
That's right. Tomorrow it will rise like a phoenix from the ashes, but today at midnight, and by that I mean yesterday because you're listening to this on Wednesday. Here's the thing. We're recording this on Tuesday, but you're going to hear it on Wednesday, which means right now as you listen to this, GAME.minder may be down.
You see, what had happened is we recorded this on a Tuesday.
Exactly.
But you're listening to it on a Wednesday. But when you were listening to it, we had already switched.
So the big switchover we've been talking about for months now, and we specifically talked a little bit more about last week, is happening as we speak.
Yes.
When Jim and I finish recording this, we're going to go take it all down.
And I'm not a twin.
And we're going to go ahead and relaunch tomorrow, which is today. When will then be now?
Then.
Soon.
We passed it.
So anyway, the long and the short of it is you're going to need a new app, and you're going to need to visit the new GAME.minder.com, and it should be pretty amazing. The cool thing, and I will just run down this real quick because we did it last week, but international release dates now supported. You're going to be setting reminders on games, not releases, which means that you're going to open up the ability to see like when a game gets a new release added. Here's the example. So a Lego game, okay?
Which
Lego games typically come out on disc, and then like a few months later they're released via download. Mm-hmm. You'll be able to now track those separately. And you'll be able to see like, oh, I want to track Lego Lord of the Rings, but I want to wait until it's available on Xbox Live. And now you'll be able to do that.
Awesome.
So that's pretty amazing. So that's all we're going to say about it. We hope that all goes well. If all goes well, as you listen to this, you'll be able to be in the brave new world of GAME.minder future.
So make sure that
so
if you haven't already created your login and pass.
It's too late for that, Jim.
Well, you can still do it. It's never too late.
That's true. It's never too late. But if you have not already made your account, you will have lost your reminders already.
This is true, but, you know.
So that's enough about that. What happened this week, Jim?
Lots of things.
I know. Happening. My God, it was a crazy week this week, huh?
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with some of the real basic ones. So, like, the first one is that the Oculus, which is that sort of head-mounted virtual reality, essentially.
Yeah, remember, I think, was it like last one or 2 ones ago, I was like sort of like pontificating on what was the next.
You are a pontificator.
I am. And this was one of the things that we came up.
But it has now been pushed
back
a bit. Yes, by what, about 3 months?
Yeah. The big 3 months, and the big thing is just making sure that it works right. Something like the Oculus, which is going to be, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it will be expensive. It's going to be an early adopter thing. So why not get it perfectly right out the door?
Right, and this is what we're talking about here that's being delayed is the developer kits. So, which is obviously, those are going to precede any sort of consumer-facing release of the hardware. And, this just means that it's going to take an extra 3 months for them to get the dev kits out there.
I think, if I remember correctly, they were updating the actual resolution a bit. And I think the sticking point right now is weight. The actual
well, that's not surprising. Anything head mounted,
right?
Actually, we're going to get to that in a minute because there's some news about that on the PlayStation.
Well, let's go to it.
But no, let's because I wanted to talk about another dev kit first, which is the Ouya dev kit. Ouya, because the Ouya dev kit is not slipping. It's actually shipping. Well, we'll see. They claim it is going to be shipping on December 28th, which is what they said it was going to do. They said it was going to be coming out in December, so they're getting it in just under the wire. But we should be getting ours shortly thereafter.
Yeah. And then we'll be able to get GAME.minder on there.
GAME.minder on the Ouya. Ouya. So we've got Oculus slipping 3 weeks. or 3 months. Ouya not slipping, but we're still yet to be seen. There was actually a pretty good picture of it on the Kickstarter, so you get a real idea for how small it is. It really is pretty tiny.
It reminded me of you know what? No, I don't know what it reminded me of. It's just it's really
reminded
tiny.
you of a little small thing,
A little small thing, like 2 Lego blocks,
like a Rubik's cube of some sort.
It's smaller than a Rubik's cube.
It is
though.
smaller than a Rubik's
yeah.
cube.
So we'll see.
All right. So last thing in terms of sort of development and publisher news, I want to talk about this THQ bundle for just a moment.
Okay, that's all you.
That's all me. All right. So the Humble Indie Bundle
Yes.
is, for those who don't know, but you probably do, it's basically a way for a bunch of games to sort of get bundled together, and then typically it works on a pay what you'd like model. And it works out really well, especially for small indies, because they get exposure that they wouldn't have gotten. And when people sort of choose the price, it actually, you'd be surprised at how how giving and goodwill can come of that sort of a thing.
But like everything that used to be just for the indies, for us to play around.
Right. So this week, THQ, who you might remember we reported in a previous week is a bit on the rocks.
Yeah.
They did a Humble THQ bundle. And there was some complaint in the sort of gaming world that this was a bastardization, if you will, of the indie bundle, the Humble Indie bundle concept.
To me, it's the straight up big brother, not big brother as I'm watching you, but the older brother, coming in and be like, no, that's my toy now, to the little brother, and then little brother who's been scrapping and trying to get its way now just is like, oh
yeah. But you know what? To take the devil's advocate position, because as of this listening, they've already netted over $3.3 million. Because a lot of the games that were included in it, I would assume, are games that people wanted to play still. And maybe they weren't going to spend the $60 to get them on a disc, or even the $20 or $30 to download them. But in a bundle like this, they picked their price and they went ahead and got them. Now, the only way that I would see this being a true negative for the whole indie gaming scene is if this actually sort of edges out other indie games. But I don't see how that could be true, since this is a separate bundle, right?
Well, I don't know. It did the article. I read the article too. It did not allude to there will also be another Humble bundle.
Right.
It kind of said this year's is now going to be the THQ Humble bundle, and and so that's the thing, is that if this becomes the slippery slope now, where now it's like, oh, Activision's going to get in, and like, hey, now
I mean,
Square Enix is going to do
the only final thing I will say about that is, if THQ were to cease to exist and something like this could keep them from ceasing to exist, I can't see it as a bad thing.
Well, why doesn't THQ?
There's a little tyke running around.
Hey, let them run around. That's fine. But fine. Then how about THQ? And this is going to be another topic, because I do want to get into like the philosophy of Kickstarter.
Sure.
But why isn't like THQ then like take a gamble and pick up an indie game that could potentially do well versus shoveling out, Barbie's, Pony Palace.
It's a legitimate point.
3.
It's a legitimate point.
The remix.
And I don't know that we've heard the end of this story. I mean, this just came out this week, and we'll sort of see what happens. Like I said, it is at 3.3 million and counting at this point,
so it's making money. So I mean, there's money talks, but speaking about money, save up, because you're going to be shelling out for some new hardware. It looks like.
We've already discussed that the Wii U is the first sort of next generation console, but as is its wont, information wants to be free, and so the information about the other two big players in the console space has been leaking out. We've got PS4 information. We had a little bit of Xbox 720 information last week. But the PS4 information is what sort of hit, I think, just this morning.
No, but actually, the whole article, the second half of that article talked about the Xbox too. So
yeah.
So you could talk about the PlayStation, because I have some gripes with, or not gripes, but just go on.
Well, the first thing is that it's very unlikely, according to these sources, that the PlayStation 4 will actually be called the PlayStation 4.
In route with how the 720 will not be called 720.
Right.
Got it.
That'll probably still be called Xbox of some sort.
Yes.
But this is, I don't even believe, going to carry the PlayStation moniker in a very prominent way. It'll still probably be part of the PlayStation brand, but it's going to be called, according to these sources,
Omni.
Omni.
Mm-hmm.
And Omni is going to go for not only the hardware but also the overall sort of branding, marketing, digital distribution world as well. And some of
Right.
the interesting pieces that came out is that it's probably going to ship with something similar to the Oculus,
Right.
sort of a head-mounted something. And that a lot of the distribution, if not all, but a good chunk of it is probably going to be digital.
Well, we did report over the summer, and it wasn't even. It may have even been called Omni, but PlayStation bought a GameFly-esque.
Well, that's the Gaikai.
Gaikai, yes,
Right. And not it was a on live was what we had thought. It was sort of a
That's right. I'm
similar
sorry.
type of a thing, but it's looking like it's actually even more than that. And sort of that strategic purchase is going to play heavily into their strategy for the PlayStation 4, the Omni,
Mhm.
or what have you, and what it's going to become. As you were saying when we were discussing the Wii U, the idea of what's going to be the next big thing, and what did you say it was going to be?
It was going to be some sort of
Virtual reality?
virtual reality 360 look type
You were
thing.
quite the pontificator once again, or prognosticator, if you will.
Yes.
But I do think that whereas every generation, well, maybe not every generation, but generally speaking, it's been like faster processors, better graphics, faster processors, better graphics, faster processors, better graphics, crazy new hardware. That's what this generation looks like it's going to be. We've got the Kinect 2, which granted the Kinect already exists, but they're hoping to do some much more interesting things with it. They're saying it's going to track up to 4 people. Maybe I'm stepping on what you wanted to talk about.
No. This is fine.
And as well as full hand and digit tracking. So it's going to be much more specific. Then we're also talking about now on the PlayStation, this head-mounted sort of can turn any TV and any space into a 3D gaming space concept. And then we've got the Wii U with like the second screen in your hand. So clearly they're all going in very different directions. What this is going to mean for the cross-platform release, I think, could be very interesting.
Yeah. I really think that my fear, well, this can go one of two ways. A lot of games right now is basically like the first person, the first player, the campaign, if you will,
Sure.
is an afterthought. Everything's about the multiplayer.
Yeah.
I think this is going to shift that model.
Shift the balance, yeah.
Yeah.
Back into really compelling and interesting single-player experiences.
And if nothing else, because I don't
or local multiplayer for that.
Right. If nothing else, because I don't think the bandwidth can handle something like that. At least not now, until fiber optics becomes the norm everywhere.
Sure.
But that could be something where we're actually having the resurrection of the LAN party.
Well, it's interesting because I remember, and I know you remember, when we used to actually literally have to hook up 2 original Xboxes on 2 TVs in 2 different rooms with the system link because Xbox Live wasn't even a thing yet, and how much fun that could be. And I know that there are tons of listeners who were all about literally lugging their big PCs over to people's parties and setting them up for like that whole kind of a thing. And the more we can make that sort of thing happen, the better. The trick is that the average gamer is our age.
Correct.
Early 30s. And I mean, I know you're not quite here yet, but I got 3 small kids.
I understand.
I'm happy to play with games with them in a local multiplayer.
Right.
But I just can't get out of the basement to go meet up with my buddies at a LAN party.
Which is why, and this is how I'm going to segue into this. Xbox is actually hedging both bets.
Yeah.
They are souping up the innards.
Yeah.
It's going to be 6 to 8 times more powerful than the Wii U, 4 times more powerful than the PlayStation Omni.
Right.
But they're going to have their own little Omni thing called Live Wall, which is going to have like the ability to do
project
a
it like
360 projection. But I think that's going to be more of the you can buy this add-on. It's not going to come standard.
Right.
No one will really have that. Here's the thing, though. It's going to come at a $500 price tag. So everything that they did right this time over Sony, they're kind of balancing it out. Because remember, Sony's whole thing was, it's going to be more powerful than the 360. We're going to have Blu-ray. Where they just like jammed all this stuff into it.
Right.
And it was, what, $600?
Yeah, I think the original launch price of the main one was $599.
Yeah, and still it's $499. The other thing that Microsoft's doing is they're gonna do like cell phones do, is subsidize it with the Xbox Live.
I did see that.
I and someone will do the numbers, but a 2-year subscription for Xbox Live. I mean, if the subscription is going to be $20 less than what it is a year now, so what is it now? It's like $80
I
now?
don't actually know.
Let's say it's $80.
Yeah.
So let's say that it's going to be $140 for 2 years.
Okay.
And you get the 360 or the next Xbox,
720.
the 720 for 400, and I don't think that still saves you anything.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're gonna be like, well, I'm gonna get the live account anyway. It's like, well, I don't know. I'm sure someone
it's really gonna boil down to, as it always does, the games. If Xbox has a really amazing, compelling game that explains to users in ways they can understand why they need to drop the money to play this game right now, it'll work. If not, then it won't. And this is true because this happened with PlayStation 3. It was probably pretty compelling at $2.99 or even $3.99. It was not as compelling at $5.99, and not as many people bought it.
Right, especially since the only game that was really coming out was God of War, and they were simultaneous.
I don't even think there was a God of War. It launched with the Heavenly Sword, which was basically
right, but
like a God of War knockoff.
Sure, but God of War was like down the pipe. It was only like 2 or 3 months late,
but it wasn't a launch title.
Okay, but my point is that they were still releasing it almost the exact same game with the PS2.
True.
So it wasn't like a PS3 only title.
Right. And with the 360, obviously the big 360 game would have been what, Halo 2?
Halo 2 was for the Xbox original.
Yeah, and then they released like a backward compatible upgrade. And that was what it was. Halo 3 wasn't for almost a year, I don't think.
Right. The killer what was the killer title for the 360? Was it
Cameo.
Was it Oblivion?
No. Cameo was the pack-in game that I don't even remember. Hexic HD.
Well, that was the other thing too. Everyone played those Xbox Live Arcade games for a while. That was the huge thing.
Geometry Wars Evolved.
Yeah.
Retro Evolved, excuse me.
So, I mean, there are some games like the next Halo, Fable 4, another Project Gotham Racing that will come out with the next Xbox.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of tend towards more power and less gimmick, because I think that makes it last longer.
Here's what I'll say about gimmick, because I just tried again to play Connect with my kids this weekend, and it was as much of a headache as I remembered it being.
What game?
It was like the Pixar something. So is basically they have to you have to move your hands like this to run. And then you run into a park, and there's like a Toy Story section, a Cars section, an Incredibles section, and you have to run to the one you want, and then it literally shows you a picture of a person with what you're supposed to do with your arms for each part. And my 6-year-old gets it, but it's not good enough for her to do it. And I don't mean she's not good enough. I mean the Connect is not good enough. She does what she's supposed to do, and it doesn't do what it says it's going to do. And that will be the death of these sorts of things. If this head-mounted thing gives you headaches like the Virtual Boy did, done. If the Kinect 2 is nowhere near as cool as they're saying it's going to be, done. The Wii U is out, and it shows that it works. And now it's just a question of people using it to its full potential.
Right.
These unproven things, if they are gimmicks, they won't work, and we'll just be right back to the same first-person shooter on all 3 consoles. And
which is why having faster processors and better video graphics and more RAM is going to help out.
All right. One last thing that you had wanted to mention was that you were going to put a hit out on me on Facebook?
Hitman did this weird cross promotion with their game. Basically what happened is it was able, you put a hit out to someone, it showed a video of your Facebook picture right before you got whacked, and then you could put a thing and you could put very lewd and crude things as to why. And then of course it was only on for an hour, and then
here's the thing about this. Hitman took a lot of heat for this particular version because a lot of the pre-release stuff was incredibly. It was like something out of 5 years ago. It was essentially a preview where there was a bunch of nuns dressed in tight spandex and leather, and over sexualized and this whole thing. And so they took a lot of heat for that. And this is a case of them hearing that, internalizing it, and then doing the exact wrong thing with it. They're like, okay, fine, we won't do an overly sexualized thing. We'll do something that's even more misguided in a completely different way. And it's down, and that's that.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
Yeah, so things coming out this week?
Yeah, we got some games coming out this week. First of all, we got Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two. I did not play the first one, but I heard it was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the coolest thing about these games is the fact that Disney is willing to let its properties be used in this way,
Right.
which I think is pretty interesting. We got GTA Vice City 10th anniversary, and this is for mobile, so for iPhone, Android. We got Air Buccaneers. Now, am I wrong, or was this one of the Xbox Live Summer of Arcade games? It seems like it's pretty late to be, but I seem to remember you mentioning this game once before.
It may have been. No, wait. No, that was actually Air Buccaneers was a game that I added. That was my game of the week.
Oh, it was your game of the week.
It's
okay.
it's the cannons with hot air balloons.
Right. Okay, good. We got the Resistance Collection, which I assume is another one of these PlayStation collections. I probably won't play this one. Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, and Modern Combat 4 Zero Hour.
Yes. You were actually thinking of Racketeer.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yes.
It's the ear, the EER at the
Word.
end there. All right, so what looked good to you this week, Jim?
Mugenics.
Mugenics
is a game from Team Meat, the guys that did Super Meat Boy.
Oh, from Indie Game the Movie?
Yeah, this game actually came out from a game jam, and not a lot is known about it. But
did this come out of the Ludum Dare that we participated in?
No, I don't think so.
Because I was gonna say Mugenics. The thing of that was evolution.
Maybe
It may be from that.
Maybe.
I'll have to look into that.
Basically, what it's going to have about 6 million, whatever.
Okay.
Like a million times 6,000. Cats, generated cats.
A lot of cats.
That's all it really is right now. They've been like teasing on their blog every week. Finally, it did come out that it will be PC. I'm sure other platforms will come around, but that's how it got into GameMinder, because it will be a PC release amongst others.
Right on.
How about yourself?
Well, mine, of course, I always have to do these retro throwbacks.
Word.
Leisure Suit Larry Reloaded for iOS. I actually tried to get, I think it was Leisure Suit Larry 6 running on my Power Mac G4. No, on my G5, but it wouldn't run because it was, I think it was originally built for like, I want to say what would have been G2s at the time, but the Power PC, like what have you. And I missed I was so bummed that I couldn't get it running because I was dying. No, you know what? I was trying to get it to run on my Intel machine. That's what it was. Because of the switchover, it wouldn't work. But these games were so much fun. I'm really, really hoping that when I play it, I don't think it's lame. Because that is always a risk with these retro games. You play it, it's not what you remember it was, and then you just feel awful about it.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Anyhow, so that's what I'm going to follow this week.
Awesome.
All right, well, I think that is going to do it for the GameMinder Report this week. To view the show notes for this episode or to follow any of the games mentioned today, don't forget to visit GameMinderReport.com/29.
And to see when the newest games are listed, don't forget to follow GameMinder on Twitter or visit Facebook.com/GameMinder.
And to follow all your favorite upcoming games, don't forget to visit GameMinder.com or download the app for iOS or Android. One quick note, there will be a brand new version of both of these apps tomorrow, Wednesday, December 5th.
Correct. So make sure that you update.
Yes.
And finally, don't forget to buy all your games through the website or app. Every game you pre-order or purchase helps support this show and this service. Signing off for the Game Report, I'm Jim.
And I'm Jeremy, reminding you,
Don't forget to play.